Some jobs are glamorous, others are all grit, no glory. In naval aviation, the flashiest jets get the headlines, but the Douglas A-4 Skyhawk was the blue-collar workhorse. Not the biggest, fastest, or prettiest, but the one that always got the job done. Pilots called it the Scooter, a simple, tough, and incredibly effective little jet. Next to its bigger cousins, it looked almost too small to be a serious weapon. But that was the genius. Small, light, and cheap. The Navy wanted a jet that could deliver a punch without hogging space or breaking the bank. Ed Heinemann, the lead designer, promised a plane half the specified weight, and delivered. A lighter plane meant it could launch from older, smaller carriers and carry more bombs for its size. Most military projects get bigger and more expensive. The Skyhawk was the opposite, efficient, reliable, and ready for anything. It was the pickup truck of naval aviation. The A-4 wasn't built for air shows. It was built for the fight. It was a tool designed for one of the toughest jobs on the planet. For decades, it did that job better than anyone expected. The Skyhawk story isn't just about a jet, it's about a philosophy. It's about the value of simplicity in a complicated world. It's about unsung heroes, machines, and people who do the dirty work so the rest of us can sleep at night. The A-4 Skyhawk was never the star, but it was always the backbone. It proved that sometimes the simplest solution is the best, and in the world of naval aviation, that made all the difference. Let's dive into the story of the mighty little Skyhawk. Ed Heinemann was a legend, a designer obsessed with simplicity. When the Navy asked for a 30,000-pound jet, he said he'd do it for half that. Heinemann's philosophy, if a part wasn't absolutely necessary, it was gone. The A-4's wings were so compact, they didn't need to fold for carrier storage, eliminating weight and complexity. This common-sense approach created a lean, mean fighting machine. Pilots called it Heinemann's hot rod. Small, powerful, and a blast to fly. The cockpit was snug, the controls responsive, and the jet felt like an extension of the pilot. The A-4 was built for ground attack. Get in, drop bombs, get out. It had to be tough, able to take punishment and keep flying. Fewer complex systems meant fewer things to break under fire. The Skyhawk's simplicity made it rugged and reliable in combat. It was a tool for craftsmen, naval aviators who took it into harm's way. The A-4 supported troops, destroyed supply lines, and hit heavily defended targets. Its design was a lesson in efficiency and practicality. The Skyhawk proved that elegance often comes from simplicity. It was a masterpiece of no-nonsense engineering. In a world of overcomplicated machines, the A-4 stood out by doing more with less. That's why pilots loved it, and why it became a legend. The Skyhawk wasn't just a jet, it was a philosophy in flight, and that philosophy saved lives. Life on an aircraft carrier is chaos, danger at every turn. The flight deck is a ballet of roaring engines, hot exhaust, and tight spaces. Every inch counts, and the A-4's small size was a huge advantage. No folding wings meant less time and manpower needed to prep for flight. More Skyhawks fit on deck, so carriers could launch more sorties, faster. The A-4 made the flight deck crew's job a little easier and a little safer. Catapult launches were violent, but the lightweight Skyhawk handled them with ease. It could operate from older, smaller carriers, extending their usefulness. The Skyhawk was a force multiplier, more jets, more bombs, more flexibility. Landing on a carrier is a controlled crash, but the A-4's strong gear took the punishment. Pilots found it predictable and forgiving around the boat, a confidence boost for rookies. The Skyhawk was designed to thrive at sea, not just survive. It was built for the realities of carrier life. On the world's most dangerous workplace, the A-4 was right at home. That's why it became a legend on the deck. When the Vietnam War escalated, the A-4 Skyhawk became the Navy's primary light attack jet. Day after day, Skyhawk pilots launched from carriers, flying into the teeth of North Vietnam's fierce air defenses. They faced anti-aircraft fire, missiles, and enemy MiGs. Danger at every turn. Missions ranged from close air support for ground troops to major strikes on heavily defended targets. The Skyhawk's simplicity and ruggedness kept it flying, even after taking damage. Maintenance crews worked miracles to keep the fleet in the air. The cost was high, nearly 300 A-4s lost, many pilots killed or captured. Men like John McCain and James Stockdale flew Skyhawks when they were shot down and became POWs. Their stories are reminders of the risks these pilots faced. The Skyhawk was small, but it flew some of the war's biggest, most dangerous missions. It earned its place in history through the courage and sacrifice of its pilots. The A-4 was the backbone of the naval air campaign in Vietnam. You wouldn't expect a small subsonic jet to survive against supersonic fighters, but the A-4 Skyhawk did. Its small size made it hard to spot and hit, and its agility was a lifesaver in dogfights. Enemy MiG pilots were often surprised by how nimble the scooter could be. In 1967, Lieutenant CM Dr. Ted Swartz shot down a MiG-17 with unguided rockets, a true David versus Goliath moment. The A-4 could carry a weapons load nearly equal to its own weight, an astonishing feat for its size. 4 Skyhawks could deliver a devastating punch, acting as flying artillery for ground troops. Its combination of agility, heavy payload, and ruggedness made it a survivor. Pilots respected the Skyhawk's ability to take hits and bring them home. Stories abound of A-4s returning riddled with holes, but still flying. This toughness was a direct result of Heinemann's simple design. The Skyhawk wasn't fancy, but it was tough, and that's what mattered in combat. In the end, the A-4 proved that brains and grit could outlast brute force. It was a tiny titan in the skies. The A-4's most distinctive feature? Its modified delta wing, strong, lightweight, and packed with fuel. This design gave it lift for short carrier takeoffs and landings and kept the fuselage sleek. The Skyhawk wasn't supersonic, but its speed was perfect for low-level attack runs, fast enough to evade, slow enough for precision. But the A-4 had a darker mission. It was designed to deliver nuclear weapons. During the Cold War, Skyhawk stood ready on carriers, trained for one-way nuclear missions. Pilots practiced toss bombing to escape the blast, if they could. This nuclear role showed the A-4's incredible versatility. One day, it could drop iron bombs. The next, it could carry a tactical nuke. The same simple jet handled both battlefield and strategic missions. That flexibility made the Skyhawk invaluable for decades. It was a simple plane, but it could do the most complex jobs. From dogfights to deterrence, the A-4 did it all. The A-4 Skyhawk's legacy is inseparable from the pilots who flew it. It was a demanding but honest aircraft, one that forged great aviators. Senator John McCain survived the USS Forrestal fire and years as a POW after being shot down in a Skyhawk. Admiral James Stockdale, another Skyhawk pilot, led POW resistance in Hanoi and earned the Medal of Honor. These men's stories began in the cockpit of the A-4. Countless others, pilots, maintainers, and deck crews built their careers around the scooter. Attack Squadron 192, the Golden Dragons, flew the Skyhawk with distinction in Vietnam. Maintenance chiefs could rebuild engines blindfolded. Young ensigns learned the ropes in TA-4 trainers. The Skyhawk's legacy isn't just in its design or combat record, it's in the people it shaped. It was a rite of passage for generations of naval aviators. The A-4 was more than a machine. It was a mentor, a test, and a legend. Its story is written in courage, skill, and sacrifice. That's why the Skyhawk endures. After Vietnam, the Navy needed better air combat training, so they created Top Gun. The A-4 Skyhawk became the bad guy, simulating enemy fighters. Its small size and agility made it perfect for the aggressor role. Fleet pilots had to sharpen their skills to spot and outmaneuver the nimble scooter. Top Gun instructors used the A-4 to replicate the tight turns of MiG fighters. Cocky Tomcat crews quickly learned humility against skilled A-4 pilots. Flying as an aggressor was a coveted job. These pilots pushed the Skyhawk to its limits. Camouflage paint and enemy tactics made the training realistic. Losing to the A-4 in training taught fleet pilots how to win in real combat. The Skyhawk became a teacher, not just a warrior. Its role in Top Gun cemented its reputation as a nimble, dangerous adversary. The A-4 excelled as both hero and sparring partner, a testament to its design. Decades after production ended, the A-4 Skyhawk's legacy lives on. It served nearly 50 years with the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps, and with air forces worldwide. From Israel to Argentina, the scooter proved its worth in combat and training. The Skyhawk represents a design philosophy that's more relevant than ever: simplicity, reliability, and effectiveness. In an age of billion-dollar jets, the A-4 reminds us that doing more with less is often the smartest way. Ed Heinemann's focus on weight saving and practicality created an affordable, easy-to-maintain, and deadly aircraft. The Skyhawk is the ultimate blue-collar hero of aviation, but its true legacy is human, the pilots, maintainers, and deck crews who made it legendary. The A-4 is a symbol of courage, skill, and hard work. When you see a Skyhawk in a museum, you're looking at a piece of history and a tribute to those who risked everything. The Douglas A-4 Skyhawk is more than an old airplane. It's an icon, a story of a tough little machine that always punched above its weight. It earned the respect of everyone who depended on it, and that's a legacy that will never fade.